I called off our wedding. Should I end the relationship? I, 38F, have been with him, 34M, for about a year and a half. We had known each other for years through my job. He proposed back in October and we were planning to get married in June. We weren't planning a big wedding, we just needed to tie up some loose ends like moving into a bigger apartment first. Warning. This is going to be a long one. Something I will say about him is that he is extremely loyal. He doesn't cheat, doesn't even flirt. He does the little chivalrous things that are becoming a dying art, like always opening car doors for me, even when I am driving. The biggest problem I have had is that he can act a little immature sometimes. I blame his mom in a lot of ways. He was adopted when he was 5 and is her only child. In a lot of ways she has infantilized him. Example, when we first talked about moving in together, she started talking about how she would need a key to come over every day because he can't possibly take care of a house by himself. He has always lived with roommates. She has covered for him, taken care of everything for him, even as an adult. He doesn't know how to cook, I have been teaching him, and he didn't know how to do dishes by hand when we first met. She would literally come over to his house and do these things for him. But I digress. I am 4 years older than him and I am divorced with 2 teenagers. I have been largely on my own since I graduated high school. He has never been married, no children. So there are obviously going to be a disparity in our life experiences, but some things all hit me at once this past week and I am mortified and crushed. 1. I found out that he basically cut himself back to part-time at his job. He's a union laborer. Turns out when he said he was working, he was going to the bar or to shop for video games instead. Hour for hour, I earn more than him anyway and that never bothered me, until I found out that he wasn't working full-time. 2nd, he has been borrowing a busted old work truck to take to job sites because he needs the towing capacity. The friend lives out of state and has been generous to let him use it. He got a flat tire a couple of weeks ago and parked it in front of my mother's house, of all places. I asked him when he was going to get a new tire. He replied, in 2 weeks when I get paid. I offered to pull the wheel off myself and take it to my mechanic but he refused. Well, you know what happens when you leave a non-running or derelict vehicle parked on the street in that municipality? It gets towed. And that's exactly what happened. And in our state, only the registered owner can retrieve the vehicle or its contents and they have to appear in person. Kind of hard when the owner is 2 states away. Now his friend is livid because he is going to be on the hook for the towing and storage, and after 7 days, the vehicle will be impounded and a lien put against it. After 30 days, it will be auctioned. That's when I found out from an old friend of his that this is not the first time he has done something like that. Something breaks and rather than fix it, he just ditches the vehicle. But that's not the worst part. When we got engaged, my brother presented him with an heirloom shotgun that has been in our family for 120 years. It belonged to my great-great-grandfather and was eventually passed down to me and my brother when our dad passed 3 years ago. It's a relic, no longer capable of firing without major restoration, but still. It's something my dad would have wanted him to have that would eventually be passed down to my kids. Since he doesn't really have anything like that from his family, I thought it was a really touching gesture on my brother's part. Come to find out, at some point, he decided he didn't want a gun in the house, took it out of the closet without telling me, and put it in the back seat of that stupid truck. That got towed away, with the owner unable to get back to get it out of hock. I was absolutely beside myself. I was extremely close to my dad, and when he died, he didn't have a lot of material things to leave us. My brother was, understandably, upset, more disappointed and hurt than angry. We have tried everything to get the gun back, but the laws in this state are hard and fast. We cannot access personal property inside of it without the title holder present. I immediately called off our engagement. I called off the relationship and moved out. A couple of days later, I had a come to Jesus meeting with him. I called him out on his behavior in all things. Reiterated that he was 34 and it was time to grow the FCK up. His childish actions cost 2 people their property, one of which can't possibly be replaced. I pointed out that I knew he was blowing off work and spending money that was supposed to be for our new apartment. That he was perfectly happy spending my money, but he had the logic of a 10-year-old when it comes to spending his money. We didn't speak for several days. Aside from him letting me know that he put himself back on the schedule at work full-time. He's put his gaming stuff up for sale and he is going to pay his friend back for the truck. He has apologized and promised that he is trying to change. He's never been abusive in any way. Just childish. I am torn because I really do love him. I want to be with him, but not until he proves that he can behave like an adult. I don't know if I will ever forgive him for losing my grandfather gun. Please don't be a jerk. My nerves are frazzled enough as it is. And #X200B. Update. Wow, this blew up really fast. A lot of good advice, a lot of judgmental advice and a lot of questions. First, I did not know about the job thing until this past week. I also didn't know that he had a history of ditching vehicles when they broke down until this past week. We still have other vehicles. It was just this one he decided to ditch. Second, I need to reiterate that I had no plans of having children. I literally cannot have them any more, so that is off the table. Third, we have exhausted every resource we can to try to get the truck gun back. Flying the owner out is not an option. My brother almost got arrested trying to pay someone off at the tow yard, and any court order (POA) title transfer won't happen fast enough to fix this. The gun is gone and we can't get it back. Finally, I would really appreciate if some of you would stop calling me thirsty and desperate. Just because I am wondering if a relationship that was pretty much good up to the point of some of these revelations coming out this past week is worth salvaging doesn't mean that I am jumping into a serious relationship with every man I meet, or that I am desperate for a man. I am not trying to procreate more, so there is no timeline. I didn't seriously date for 10 years and I will be perfectly fine if I don't for another 10 years. Thanks. And #X200B. Update number 2. No, his mom did not have a key to our apartment. And #X200B. Update 3. No, I cannot buy the truck and go get it. He still has to sign it over to me, have it notarized and mail it, then I have to sign it, take it to the DMV, title it in my name and wait for the new title to come in the mail. It's too late for that. Dear, I'm so sorry that you are going through this. I think it might help you to consider some questions. Do you want to get married? If so, why would you continue to date someone you couldn't marry and be a team with? You already have 2 children. It doesn't sound like you want another. Good luck. Heart heart heart. Ditch him. You can do better. Your question: should you end your relationship? If you want to have a romantic relationship with such a person, then no, but it sounds like you want to be with a mature, responsible man who does not lie. If that is truly the case, then yes. You think he might change? Cut your losses. He's 34. Just saying he'll change won't make it so. Lifelong behavior and beliefs don't change just because we want them to, even if he has the best of intentions. I say, if you love him from a distance until he's ready, if you have that kind of energy. Mothers should raise their sons into men, not their partners. And he needs a better boundary relationship with his mother. You can't have her invading your relationship. At the very least, you should wait a good long while to observe him, walking the walk, and if he backslides, you're out. He needs to move heaven and earth to get that gun back before you consider marriage. Buy the truck back at auction, slip someone at the tow facility a Benjamin, whatever he has to do to make it right. That said, it's probably just easier to bounce. Doesn't seem like you'd be losing much. Congratulations on the birth of your 34-year-old. Seriously. You will become his mother, his antics will not change and neither will his mother. The part about the shotgun made me so sad of this story. I love guns, and if something like that was given to me, I'd cherish it and be fascinated by the history behind it. I don't have advice, but the only person you'll ever be able to change is yourself. Whatever you choose to do, I hope it makes you happy in the long run. I'm sorry for the loss of that heirloom, really makes me sad. What did you expect? It sounds like you knew he was childish and irresponsible. Are you looking for a project to mother into the man you want? You keep saying immature and childish, but what you described was an irresponsible, inconsiderate liar. His friend Hao has to pay thousands of dollars to get his own property back. He lost a priceless family heirloom, and he lied about working. I'm flabbergasted that you're even still considering marrying him honestly. Like always opening car doors for me, even when I am driving. That sounds extremely dangerous. I hope you always have your seatbelt on. Oh, I would never ever marry this person. No way in hell. If you continue this relationship, you will have a third child that never grows up. He's 34. You deserve to be with a man, not someone that takes advantage of you, his friends, and does the bare minimum to scrape by. He's an entitled little bitch. Break up for good. Congrats, you have 3 children. Never marry a manchild. He's not mature enough to be married. Find someone else who's smart and respectful. Is there any way you could pay for his friend to travel to your state, to retrieve the truck and the gun for you? It seems crazy to lose the gun just because the truck was towed, and very depressing. Or maybe you could buy the truck off him and get ownership rights transferred? I think you should ask yourself what he gives you. What does he provide for you? You provide him money, status of being in a relationship, at the very least security. I know that this post doesn't paint him in the best light, but what does he give you in return? Not that relationships are a transaction, but you can't go on for long giving, without being given something in return. You keep reiterating that he's not abusive and doesn't cheat as if those are the only good reasons to leave someone. They're not. Yes, you already have 2 daughters and I bet that they are more self-sufficient than him. His mother behavior is a red flag. You don't need to put yourself in to raise a man in his 30s. Definitely do not marry him anytime soon. You can break up if you want or keep the relationship status quo as it is now and reassess. Definitely don't do anything to progress it until you're sure he's going to change. Oh please. Stop saying that he isn't abusive like it's such a big achievement. Not being abusive is the bare minimum that we should demand to all people in our lives. Regarding his immaturity, I wasted 8 years of my life waiting for my ex-boyfriend to grow up. I met him when he was 32 and I gave up on him when he was 40. By the way, my ex also had a very involved mom. It seems to be a pattern. You know you're trying to raise him at this point, right? You've raised kids already and live your life like an adult. You really deserve to be with someone who also knows how to be an adult. He's an emotionally stunted zero of a person. He could be fixed. But it would take a very very long time. He has a lot of wrong ideas, codependency, and immaturity to dig through. We're talking years to affect real change, and 2, he would have to want to, and why would he? This works for him. He gets what he wants and gets to dump the consequences and responsibilities off on someone else. I wouldn't be surprised if he's personality disordered. You're questioning whether you should end a relationship with a selfish, underdeveloped, lying, irresponsible child with no regard for anyone else? Oh honey, you need some serious therapy too. There are plenty of guys who will open doors for you that can also function. This guy is not capable of being a partner. You're always going to be worried about done irresponsible, destructive, lazy decision he made. You're always going to be worried that he lied about working, or spending money, or doing that important thing to help out. If you ask this guy to please mail that important document, check, etc., then asked him a few days later if he remembered to mail it, and he said yes, would you be able to believe him? Or is every important thing going to be on you plus double-checking his work for your entire relationship? People get hung up on age difference when the typical issue isn't a number, it's the chasm in maturity, life experience and capital. From the sound of it, you're dating, in all ways other than age, a child who is a long, long way from being capable of being an equal partner in your relationship. Even your ex's reaction to your come to Jesus talk emphasizes how immature he is. Grand gestures look great and all that, but they don't sustain an actual relationship. Stop raising him, he's not your son. The thing about 4-year-olds is they're adorable, so much fun that you're happy to run interference when they hit the limits of their ability to cope with the world. When all else fails, they're usually not independent and powerful enough to get into a lot of trouble. Not so with the emotional 4-year-olds. Sounds like you've really got your life together and your priorities straight. From this post alone, this relationship seems like a waste of your time. What does he have to offer you? How does he make you better? Does he challenge you? How does he play a role in your daughter's lives? Is he your best friend and teammate? Is he reliable, trustworthy, hardworking? Does he have the qualities you want in a life partner? You have 2 teenagers to worry about. You don't need to be babying a full-grown adult. You're entering a phase in your life where you should be able to reap what you've sowed over the years. Good luck to you. Please dump this guy and find an adult to date. There is no way that this is the best you can do. I just couldn't have any respect for him as a man and husband. He won't do the bare basics to survive. What do your kids think of him? Having married and divorced a man-child myself, don't do it. I figured things would get better, they didn't. Then, when I started the divorce, he fought it to try to get me to pay him $1,000 a month. No kids, no shared property, etc. Icing on the cake, was married for 6 months before asking for the divorce. Ha! To be honest, it sounds like he's not right for you. My opinion is that it's a short relationship and that you're still in the honeymoon period, post-divorce too. It's not unusual, been there done that. But it doesn't sound like your lives properly align, and in the future it would be even more of a problem. We grown but we don't fundamentally change, and if at his age this is how he's acting, no. Big fat number 38 is still way young. You have a lot of life and fun left ahead of you. Use it to your fullest. Whatever you do, don't marry him. Right now, he's an idiot. Give him a year if you must, be at the end of that year, he needs to have shown some really solid growth. He's had what? Like around 20 years to learn how to behave like an adult? He might be able to change, maybe not. Do you want to be the one raising him to adulthood, as opposed to experiencing being in a relationship with a real adult? And how many times do you expect he'll tumble along the way? He has several times already. Also, is mom going to be willing to step down from her role, or will she insist on continuing to baby him? Is he just hoping you'll cut back, give up on expectations and take over as his mom? This will never change. This would be your life. You have a chance to get out. You will take over the role of his mom and have 3 kids. You need to move on. And for his sake as well. Neither one of you is going to be happy after all this. At least you can do something about your problem. Move on. If you stay, you're already signaling that you're going to resent him and monitor him constantly. Don't do that to yourself or him. I'm sorry, but I must be blunt. 34-year-olds are finished growing up. You have 2 children. Do you want 3? So not only is he irresponsible, he knows that his actions are unacceptable and lies about them. His behavior is deliberate, not accidental. He did not accidentally reduce his work hours. He deliberately cut them and then hid his actions because he knew they were unacceptable. Do you want to be in a relationship with someone who is unreliable, dishonest, and untrustworthy? Do you want to be in a relationship where you constantly have to overfunction for your partner? Don't live together, don't share finances, don't plan a wedding, but if you want to see if there's a future together, see if he really does make permanent changes. People can change when they get a wake-up call. And if, say, a year from now, things are looking up and it looks like he's adulting well, get a prenup before getting married and always have money in an account he can't access. Because relapse. Also, adulting well means mommy doesn't have a key to his apartment because adults can cook and clean for themselves. Be super sure about that one. I think your love language is taking care of others, and somehow he fulfills that need in you? That's why you love him. May I suggest volunteering somewhere so that it fulfills your caring nature, and meanwhile do not marry this person. He cannot be who you want him to be. I usually don't recommend that people seek the help of a lawyer, but, as relates to your family heirloom, perhaps it would be good to get some actual, real legal advice from someone you are paying to help solve this problem. Not some government bureaucrat who could give a shit about your property and just tells you, themselves, the rules. There may be a functioning, legal way for you to get your property returned. And for the auction to be held up until this is resolved. Where is this? I'll buy the truck and give you your gun back. Merry Christmas. If you have a good impound place and are really nice, you can usually get them to give you back your property from the truck. Sometimes they ask for a fee. He's done too much damage tbh. While it's great that he may be finally starting to grow up, there's no way you can trust him again. I would end the relationship if I were you. Why would you want to marry someone who is still learning how to do housework in his 30s? Why would you want to marry a man who lies about ditching work to shop for video games? Why would you want to marry a man who can't even take care of items lent to him by friends? I think that, for your children, you need to end this relationship. He isn't a good role model for your children. I bet your children are more responsible than this man is. He's 34. He ain't changing anytime soon. Especially when he's been getting away with this shit for this long. Cut your losses, girl. He doesn't chest, but he lies to you and claims to be at work when he's at the bar. Honey, he's cheating. Honestly, he's lying about his job, income, and employment. He was happy to keep that from you. Since you out-earn him, what's going to happen when you get married? Is he going to with part-time or not at all and ride on your responsibility coattails? That would give me pause before anything else. Date a mechanic. No, dump him for good. The kind of changes you would need him to make would take therapy, in which he would have to be deeply invested and motivated to succeed, and lots of time and patience. Unless you want to raise another child for the next 5 years minimum while he, and apparently you, reparent him and restructure his understanding of the world and his place in it, it's time to let it go. Do everything you can to get the gun back, talk to the friend who owns the car and come up with a plan with them. Or if you don't care about the potential legal repercussions for childish BF yourself, report the gun as stolen to the police and tell them you know where it's located. You deserve someone who lifts you up and makes your life easier, and this person is not that.